Welcome back to another effects tutorial. My name is Playgue, and today we're going to be talking about the flanger. Flanger is available on IFX and TFX B and C, and not available on A for some reason. We are very lucky to have this flanger on this device because Roland flanger machines go for hundreds of dollars online. I think the one that's in this device is similar to the flanger BF2, although not the exact same, as this one actually has more features on it, which is really dope. If you'd like to know more information about this pedal, as well as a demo of this pedal with a guitar, which actually sounds pretty cool, you can check out this video on YouTube. This is similar to the delay effect, but it has a modulator built in, basically something that can move the sound around. So what this does is it makes a copy of your sound and then takes that copy and delays it by a few milliseconds, so around 5 to 20 milliseconds. It's a very, very short amount of time. Then what it does is it combines those two, and what this essentially does is it cuts out some frequencies and amplifies other frequencies. The frequencies this ends up cutting out follow a harmonic series, which is why this form of glitching the sound sounds nicer no matter what we pair it with. The thing to keep in mind is that this also boosts other frequency in the source, so it can sound more harsh at higher levels. But to get around this harshness, you can use a phaser instead, because I can talk for a long time about the phaser. In fact, I did, if you wanted to check out that video. Anywho, let's talk about the flanger's parameters. So we have a lot of parameters. We have the rate, the depth, the resonance, the step rate, and the effect level, which is dope. So let's talk about each one of these. The rate is simply the speed of the LFO, or the modulator, or the speed at which the signal moves back and forth. So as we increase the rate, or decrease the rate, that signal will move slower or faster. It's very similar to the chorus. If you remember my chorus tutorial, it's a very similar thing with the way that the modulator is moving that signal. So I have a sawtooth wave here that we can play around with this flanger. Next we have depth. Now this is how deep the flanger is going to go to reach into the sound. At a rate of 0, so if we have the rate on 0, depth will actually change nothing. So nothing ends up changing with depth if the rate is at 0, unless we get this stuck. So just like in my isolator tutorial, we talked about how the isolator can get stuck. Well, turns out almost any effect that has a rate can get stuck like that, including the flanger. So if we get it stuck here, we can change the depth, and that will also affect the sound. But once we turn the flanger to something else and back, depth now does nothing. Additionally, at a depth of 0, so if you have your depth at 0, the step rate will do nothing, as well as the regular rate. Next is resonance. Resonance is also called feedback, and this puts the signal back into itself, creating a more brighter tone. And you'll hear a higher frequency tone no matter what you input into this. So the higher this resonance, the more brighter and higher pitch you will hear the flanger being. So because it's feeding into itself, you will actually get a delay at higher levels when you stop the stimulus. So if I have the resonance at 100, for example, and I just make a sound into the microphone, you can hear that there is a delay effect in the sound as it slowly fades away into the background. This is the same idea if you put your microphone up to the speaker and you get that loud feedback tone. I'm not going to do that, don't worry. But this is the same idea. What it's doing is it's being fed into the flanger instead of being output from the microphone to the speaker back into the microphone and just causing that feedback loop. Next is step rate. Step rate is where things get wild, as always with every one of these effects. So this changes the effect to do more of a stair-stepping method of the rate change. So normally the sound is a smooth transition with the given depth. However, if you wanted to step to that given level of depth, then you'll want to add a step rate. This needs to be combined with the rate parameter. So you actually need to think about your rate when messing with the step rate as well. Similar to, I believe, the phaser tutorial, I talked about how the rate needs to be slower than your step rate in order for you to get the most out of the effect. The flanger, that is even more so the case with this effect. We're going to look at an example where I have the rate at a half note at whatever BPM it is, but because we have our step rate at half of the rate, we should hear it go 2 steps. So dun 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 dun, because it's skipping to the depth that is given. We can change the depth to hear it go even deeper. So let's say we want to, in this case, we have to do some math. If we want to, let's say, double the amount of steps that it'll take for it to go up, so instead of doing 2 beeps, we want it to do 4 beeps. We'd want to take, again, do the math. We want to figure out what the step rate should be. So if we want 4 of them, we need a note that fits into a half a note 4 times. In this case, it would be an eighth note. So if we change this to an eighth note, now we should be getting 4 beeps. But let's say it's too fast. Let's say we want to double the amount of time it takes. Well, if we want to double the amount of time it takes, we can change the rate to something that is slower. But that means we also have to change the step rate to, again, be 1/4 of the full rate. So if we want to change the number of steps, we adjust the step rate. If we want to change the time it takes, we adjust the rate. If your step rate is longer than your rate, then it will make it will make the sound stick, but not always. For example, if we put the rate at, let's say, a quarter note and the step rate at 2 measures, this now makes the rate faster than the step rate. So we shouldn't hear much happen, but listen to what the sound does as I approach the rate. Just keep that in mind when you're messing with the flanger and really all the effects on this device that have some type of step rate. And we're finally down to the last parameter, which is E-level. This is much easier to explain. This is how prominent the effect will be and the strength of the effect. And this is what's controlled by the knob. That's it for effect level. This is very similar to the phaser tutorial where there's so many different ideas that you can use this for. And I explained a lot of those ideas when talking about the parameters. But I'll give you some examples of cool tricks that you can use with this. Pairing this up with a chorus will give the flanger a little bit more depth. The chorus can also bring out the flanger a little bit more. We can pair this with all kinds of different sounds. Makes some really alien sounding stuff, dude. Having the flanger at a higher resonance also can give for some very goofy kind of sounds. So just play around with what the flanger can do, and you can make all kinds of cool sound effects with this. Definitely pair it up with a guitar that can give you a really cool effect. But most of the time we're using phasers instead because the phaser is definitely better. But that's, my hot take on that. In any case, the flanger is really, really cool tool that we can use on this loop station. So play around. I'll give you a cool video on the subject that I have linked to many, many times before on this whole project series. And let's get into a track that utilizes the flanger in a multitude of different ways.